All right, continuing with part 2 of the skills certification presentation. So we just talked about what the state can do to help your students be successful. Now we need to look at what you can do as a teacher to help your students be more successful, to help them earn the certifications, okay? So the first thing that you can do as a teacher is to, if I can get the slide to progress. Wrong way. Okay, right there. The first thing that you can do, and the most important thing you can do, is actually teach the strands. It's always surprising to me how teachers come to me and they say, I feel like I'm doing these amazing and great things in my classroom, and then my students bomb the test. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Well, you can be doing amazing and great things and teach the strands at the same time. So as you are doing your curriculum development, teach the strands. So where do you find the strands from? From the USBE website. So bookmark this site right here. I know I told you to do that in my last presentation. Bookmark it. I'm dead serious. You will need this over and over and over again. Bookmark this page. Okay? When you go to the State Board of Education website, here, right here, course information. This is going to be a very important thing for you to be able to find. When you click on that course information, it's going to bring up the list of classes. These are the strands. This is what you're going to teach. So it says, click on the link right there that says Strands and Standards. This is what they look like. Now this is just a sampling of the food and nutrition strand. So, lots of information is provided for you here. And these have, I believe the format has been updated just a little bit here, but there's a lot of information. As you start to read through this, who can take this? Well, this class is taught 9th through 12th grade, so depending on where you are in your district and where you are in the state will determine what classes can teach it. But it is a class eligible for 9th through 12th graders to take. It has the code, it has the credits, it's a half credit class. The skills testing number, which, I mean, all of this information is there for you as a resource. This is where the stuff really starts to get helpful. So it's going to list your performance objectives. Now, from my understanding, they have changed the wording from performance objective to performance skills. So this will say performance skill number 1. Every single CTE course, in Family Consumer Sciences anyway, the first performance objective is to learn about FCCLA, whether you teach it or not. I'm a middle school teacher, and in my district, we are not allowed to do middle school FCCLA. So it's really something that I'm just teaching my students about so that when they get to the high school, they recognize what FCCLA is and they know about it. So when they hear about and they do the Club Rush week and all of that kind of stuff, they know what FCCLA is because they've heard about it from me. So you're going to complete step 1. This link right here off to the side of it gives you the link to the filing cabinet so that you can get tons of different ideas as to how to teach step 1 for FCCLA. Okay? Every performance or every skill certification has this as the first performance objective. Every student's going to do it. Now, my personal recommendation, you might want to come up with maybe 2 or 3 different ways to do it because you will have students that take you more than one time and they really don't like doing the same assignment 3 times. So just kind of fair warning, there you go. It identifies the strands. So this right here is the strand. This is the big idea, your GVC. This is the thing that you need to make sure, I used an acronym. Education in our acronyms. GVC, Guaranteed Viable Curriculum. So this is the important big idea that you are going to teach your students. Depending on the class that you're teaching will determine how many there are. I know that in the foods class there are 6 strands. So this is the first big idea that I'm going to teach. And then the standards give the basic ideas underneath them. These are what are used to write the skills tests, okay? So if you are teaching the information on this paper, okay, your students are going to be just fine on the skills certification. Now, this brings up the question, well, how do I decide how much time I spend on strand 1 versus strand 2 versus strand 3? At the end of this document, there is a little box that tells you skills certificate test points by strand. So it tells you there are going to be 18 questions, 18 points on strand number 1. There's going to be 17 points on strand number 2, 12 on strand number 3. You're getting the idea. So this is a test where they are fairly even across the board. I probably want to spend a little bit more time on strands 1, 2, and 6 than I do on 3, 4, and 5. 3, 4, and 5, I can make those strands, the time that I spend teaching them, a little bit shorter. So this is telling you there are going to be 58 total questions, but 86 total points. That means that some of these questions are going to be SMART questions, meaning the students are going to be, some of the questions are going to have more than one question on it. They're going to have to drag and drop and do some of these more advanced testing formats where they're going to have to put things in order and match things. So one question could be worth 3 points. So just kind of make sure that you're keeping that in the back of your mind. So teach the strands. I really cannot stress that enough. This is how you make your lessons. This is how you make your presentations. This is the information that you teach to your students. You've got resources. Don't reinvent the wheel, okay? Share and still, okay? We mentioned this website. If you haven't bookmarked it yet, bookmark it now, okay? The listserv. This is how you're going to find your resources. This listserv is a great resource. We've already kind of talked about this. You understand the listserv. Right here under this listserv for Family Consumer Science is the filing cabinet. We've already talked about the filing cabinet. We've gone to that filing cabinet resource. Use this resource. There's tons of ideas in there. People have shared their lesson plans, their activities, their labs, their recipes. Use this as a resource because there's some great stuff on there. There's really no need for you to reinvent the wheel on everything, okay? This is one thing that I found really helpful for me. Now this again is the 2016-2017, so you're going to want to make sure you're finding the updated thing. But this shows all of the FACS classes and their test numbers with the strands. So you'll notice some, like this Advanced Fashion Merchandising, they have 11 different strands that they teach versus Textile Design and Entrepreneurship, it only has 4. So you need to know the classes that you're teaching. I want to kind of just point out a couple things. This is the food and nutrition one that we already kind of just showed you. They're relatively even across the board. I do want to spend a little bit more time on strands 1, 2, and 6, but it's fairly even. If I take a look at, let's say, child development though, strand 1 only has 3 points associated with it versus strand 3 that has 30 points associated with it. So you definitely want to be looking at this. If I spend a lot of time on strand 1, my students are going to bomb the test because it's a fraction of the questions that are going to be asked. So make sure that you're looking at this as you are planning your curriculum. This is one of the things that you can do to help your students be successful, okay? Tracking these performance objectives. Okay, now remember you've got 2 parts to this test. You've got your performance skills and you've got the content knowledge. What we've been talking about so far has been the content knowledge. There's the performance aspect that you need to consider as well. So on the State Board of Education website, and I should have updated this slide, I apologize about that. You can find it by looking at the skills certification link. There's a required tracking form, okay? That's right here. If you click on this, this is the required form. So every single teacher that tests turns this in. You're going to, on test day, you're going to fill out all of this information, the number of students that took your class, the number of students that actually tested. Those numbers might not be the same. Maybe you have 3 or 4 severe students in your foods class. And these are students who can't read or write. They're in there primarily for the social, so they're not going to take the skills certification. So that's one reason why they might those numbers might differ. Maybe you have a student that is out sick for 3 or 4 weeks at a time, and so they missed enough of the class that they're not going to be testing. Anyway, so you're filling out this different information. This is something that obviously that you can't fill out until after they have tested, because you need to know who actually passed at 80% or better. If they completed the performance objectives at 80% or better. Here's the performance objectives. Now this is again as an example for the foods class. So there are 9 different performance objectives that the students need to do. Recognizing this first one is going to be complete step 1 in FCCLA. Essentially, you're signing this paper down at the bottom saying, yes, all of my students that I've listed at the top of my paper there have done these things. Okay? Well, you need to identify how you kept track of that, whether it was with your grade book, whether you kept a summary score sheet separately, and so forth. Okay, so these are your performance skills. This is a required document that you are going to turn in. Now, when it comes test time, you are going to have somebody in your school who can help walk you through this process. If they're not at your school, then they are in your district, and you can contact your CTE supervisor, whoever, to help you through this process. Or reach out to one of us that are on the panel, and we are happy to help you in any way that we can. If you're in southern Utah, I am more than happy to come and actually walk you through the process in person. Just reach out to me and let me know, okay? This documentation, okay? They provide you this optional tracking form to help you keep track of the students, just as an option. This is kind of what it looks like. Okay, it's just a sheet that looks like this. It's a place where you can write the student's name. You can check off as they do it. Okay, I personally make an Excel worksheet where I just copy and paste the students' names, and then I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And as the students complete those performance objectives, I keep a digital copy. I also have them tracked in my grade book. I just like having everything in one sheet so that I can see who's missing what at a quick glance. So you've got to find a method that works best for you, that's not going to create a ton of extra work for you. This is not something that you turn in. This is totally just an optional tracking form to help you keep track of your students. Okay. Now, we are getting to the 13-minute mark on this presentation, so I am going to end part 2 right here, and we'll finish up this presentation in part 3.